And U.S. President Donald Trump has said he is very much looking forward to his scheduled meeting with Chinese President Xi Jinping in South Korea. Trump is scheduled to meet his Chinese counterpart in the coastal city of Busan, which is about 85 kilometers from Gyeongju. In their first face-to-face encounter since the U.S. president launched second trade war with China, this meeting is taking place. Earlier during his speech at the APEC summit, Trump said the expected trade deal would be good for both the countries and something very exciting for everybody.
President Xi of China is coming tomorrow here, and we're going to be, I hope, making a deal. I think we're going to have a deal. I think it'll be a good deal for both. And that's really a great result. You know, that's better than fighting and going through all sorts of problems.
And speaking on Air Force One, Trump said he expected the agreement to solve a lot of problems. Listen to this.
Know a little bit about what's going on because, you know, we have been talking to them. We're not just walking into a meeting cold, but the relationship with China is very good. So I think we're going to have a very good outcome for our country and for the world, actually. I think it's important for the world.
China's foreign ministry was more cautious, saying that Xi and Trump would have in-depth talks on major issues. Trump has indicated that the agreement would include lowering 20% tariffs on Chinese goods related to fentanyl, which has killed tens of thousands of Americans. Now, of particular importance to Trump, with an eye on U.S. farmers, is whether China will resume purchases of American soybeans. Now, U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent has said after the run-up talks in Malaysia that Beijing had agreed to substantial purchases. Now, another major issue is export controls on rare earths, announced by Beijing this month, that prompted Trump to call the Xi summit into question. Beijing holds a virtual monopoly on these materials, which are essential for sophisticated electronic components across a range of industries. And President Donald Trump is again heading to a high-stakes meeting with Chinese President Xi Jinping, seeking to finalize a trade deal that investors and American soybean farmers are hoping eases tensions between the world's two largest superpowers. Now, the meeting between Trump and Xi in Gyeongju comes as two sides have zeroed in on a framework that would hold off export control on rare earth metals, and China had floated. Now, a new 100% tariffs Trump threatened on China's import in retaliation. Now, Trump aboard the Air Force One on his way to South Korea from Japan had earlier told reporters the U.S. and China haven't talked about the timing yet regarding China's delay of export controls, but we'll be looking at how that goes. And for more details, we're now being joined by CGTN correspondent Aaron Liu from Beijing. Thank you so much, Aaron, for joining us on the broadcast. Well, now let's talk about the elephant in the room. It's the big Xi-Trump meeting. What are we looking at? What are the big things China is looking at with these talks?
Yes, experts said the top priority is to further faithfully implement all of the points of the consensus that have been and will be made by the two heads of state. The scenario is expected to improve the overall stability of China and U.S. ties, as well as the two-way collaboration, which has been kept afloat in various aspects, ranging from trade to law enforcement. The Foreign Ministry announced on Wednesday as agreed to by China and the U.S. Xi will meet with Trump in Busan, a coastal city in the Republic of Korea, to exchange views on bilateral relations and issues of the mutual interest. This will be the first face-to-face meeting between them since Trump assumed office in January for his second term as U.S. president. Foreign Minister spokesman Guo Jiakun said head of state diplomacy plays an irreplaceable role in providing strategic guidance for China-U.S. relations, And during the meeting, the two presidents will have in-depth communication on strategic and long-term issues concerning China-U.S. relations and major issues of common concerns.
All right, and how, may I ask you, is China viewing these talks between Xi and Trump?
Yes, according to the foreign ministry announced on Wednesday, a new briefing in Beijing, they said we're willing to make joint efforts with the U.S. side to drive this meeting to yield positive outcomes and provide new guidance and inject new impetus into the stable development of China-U.S. relations. So last month, the two leaders held their third phone talks this year, following the first in January and the second in June. So in the most recent phone talks, they said the two nations are fully capable of helping each other succeed and prospering together. And Trump said the two countries working together can get many great things done that are good for world peace and stability. So experts noted that the China-U.S. ties, despite some ups and downs this year, have maintained a generally stable status, thanks to the navigating role played by the head of state diplomacy. The ties have been affected by destabilizing factors such as economic and trade frictions brought by the. So Foreign Minister held a phone call with the U.S. Secretary of State, in which Wang Yi and both Xi and Trump are world-class leaders, and their long-term exchanges and mutual respect have become the valuable strategic asset in China-U.S. relations.
Right, and how important do you think is this whole talk with between Trump and Xi, considering how, when it comes to a certain genus such as soybeans, now we know that China was the biggest importer of soybeans from America. How have the people been reacting to this, and how important are these talks on TikTok, soybeans for China?
China is now the U.S. second largest source of imports and third largest market for its exports. So this year, the two sides have held 5 rounds of economic and trade talks. So right now, we can see experts, the latest economic and trade talks in Malaysia has reached the framework consensus on addressing the current urgent economic and trade issues on an equal footing, and they helped to pave the way for the head of state meeting in the ROK. So from the media, we can see that feedback from the social platform shows that Chinese people have paid great attention to this interaction between the two hands of state. Many netizens left comments saying that they look forward to strengthened communication between China and the U.S. to promote exchanges and cooperation in economic and trade, cultural and people-to-people fields. The general public opinion holds that the sound and stable China-U.S. relation will help bring more tangible benefits to the people of both countries, and is also conducive to world peace and development.
Right, that's a very interesting way of pointing out how other netizens reacting to this. But of course, when we look at that, of course, it's the people who get impacted with any kind of trade deals that happens. Also, if you could also tell us about how China is looking at APEC summit as a whole. We know that, Xi and Trump meeting is like somehow big, but as a whole, how is the APEC summit looking at?
So right now we can see the trade talk give us the positive, but also sustainable progress were made. China-U.S. Trade negotiations are not yet concluded. The meeting said that both sides' willingness to resolve disputes through dialogue, and we can see history on the side is also expected to set as an example for other nations' negotiations, and countries are indeed taking note. So right now we can see the many in the next 5 months imposing tariffs and China goods. China openly stated many times that. So right now it was to emphasize that again that the talks were maybe helped answer the questions to crystal clear. China agreed to talks and reached a common understanding.
Absolutely. Now, considering that, we know about the trade pact. What about defense? We know that this talk is taking place at an interesting place, which is South Korea. And I'm guessing somehow, I believe South China Sea or maybe Taiwan could be in the topic. What is your opinion on
that? I'm not sure about that, but according to the ministry, Asia-Pacific family is once again embracing an important moment. At the 30th APEC Economic Leaders Meeting, President Xi proposed working together to create the next GOAT 30 years of Asia-Pacific development. The recently adopted about the 15th five-year plan for national economic and social development are highly aligned with Asia-Pacific region's development demand for the next 3 decades.
Right. And when it comes to defense, do you think any other talks could happen between Xi and Trump?
Today, the Asia-Pacific region is a very important meeting, and that region is also very great. It accounts for 1/3 of the world's population, over 60% of the global economy. And we can see that the Asia-Pacific, as the region's highest level, broadest scope, and most influential economic cooperation mechanism. And once the APEC has continuously advanced the regional trade and investment and facilitation, these efforts have propelled a sustained development.
Right. And when it comes to the talks in the APEC summit, are we looking at any other talks with any other countries which Xi might be holding at the APEC?
Right now, I think we need to focus on the new updates from the foreign ministries, the news, and I'm not sure about that.
All right, of course. We'll be looking forward to that. Now, of course, this is something that even the West will be looking at, and this is something that might change a lot of things globally. How do you look at this as, how would this meeting impact on global diplomacy?
We can see right now the Asia-Pacific families once again embracing an important moment. And I think the proposals include actively expanding, opening up, promoting initiative growth in trade, broadening two-way investment cooperation, and advancing high-quality cooperation. Under the Belt and Road Initiative, we open up broader space for cooperation between China and other Asia-Pacific economies.
All right. And when it comes to such as like TikTok or rare earth minerals, I'm sure that is one of the biggest topics, rare earth minerals. What is China looking at when it comes to rare earth?
That's also we need to the updates. And right now we can see that China and U.S. have concluded 2 weeks of constructive trade talks in Malaysia, their 5th round this year. China's trade negotiator Li Chenggang said the U.S. side maintained a tough stance, while China stayed firm in defending its interests and rights. But we can have the key takeaways from Chinese press briefing. Both sides held candid and in-depth discussions on major issues, including export controls, extensive tariff truce, and also some expansion of bilateral trade. And they reached a consensus on addressing respective concerns, and will now move to internal approval procedures. And that's the stories from the last few days. And Li emphasized that the consultations were based on the mutual respect and equality, a remarkable wide seen as the response to some policies.
All right. Well, Aaron, of course, we'll be looking forward to exactly what comes out of these talks. And of course, we'll have you again to discuss that more. Thank you so much for joining us on the broadcast.
Thank you.